Hi, I'm attorney Gregory Dell, and I'm here with attorney Alexander Palomara. And we're going to talk about video surveillance in long-term disability insurance claims. And we're going to cover topics about like what it is, first of all, why it's used, and the challenges that it develops in a particular claim. So first of all, Alex, what is video surveillance that long-term disability insurance companies use in a lot of claims?
Well, what they do is essentially they send an investigative team out to your house or place of business or wherever you may be to try to catch you on video doing something that you should not be doing. When you're a disabled person, you might tell the insurance company, I can't do this, that, and the other. And the goal of surveillance is to catch you doing this, that, and the other so they can say, hey, you told us you couldn't do this. Now we have you on video doing that, thus we don't think you're disabled. We took that video, sent it to a doctor. Doctor agrees that you have the ability to do this, that, and the other, and no longer do we find you disabled. We're denying your claim. So the whole purpose of surveillance is essentially to get information against you so they can utilize it to deny your claim.
Okay, how often do disability insurance companies utilize video surveillance?
It's hard to say. I don't see it on every single claim, every single denial. I'd probably say 1 out of 5 cases they mention surveillance in the denial letter. So it's not every case where they're doing surveillance, but it could be every case. So if you're a person on claim, you have to be aware that there's a possibility that the insurance company could be doing surveillance now or in the future in an effort to deny your claim.
And what is your strategy that you advise people so that they don't necessarily have to worry about video surveillance?
Always keep in mind that whenever you're out in public, whenever you're outside of your house, of course they can never videotape you inside your house. They can never go up to your windows. They can videotape you, they can from a legal standpoint, from the street, they can videotape your house, but they can never go up to your window. Anytime that you're outside of your house, you have to keep in mind that you are a disabled person, that you're making a claim to an insurance company. That being said, you don't have to not exercise, you don't have to not go to the supermarket. Just because you're disabled doesn't mean that you can't exercise or go to the supermarket. And in fact, sometimes when you're a disabled person, your doctors will tell you that you need to exercise. That's a way to
Right.
either, to prevent your condition from progressing or maybe to cure you might be exercise. So just because you're caught exercising is not totally detrimental to your case, even though the insurance company might utilize that as an argument. But just keep in mind when you're a person on disability that when you're out and about, there could be surveillance of you. And the old adage is a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, so can a video be. And the purpose of this video surveillance is to deny your claim. So if you're out and about lifting up a 50-pound bag of dog food, the insurance company, and you're claiming that you have a back injury, the insurance company is going to utilize that against you. Even though you're not doing it on a repetitive basis, day in, day out, 40 hours a week, you only do it one time. They're going to say, hey, listen, your doctor said you can't lift 10 pounds, and here's this 25-pound bag of dog food that you're lifting. So we don't believe the restriction limitations are true, and thus we're denying your claim.
So one of the big things that I tell all of my claimants, and we manage lots of claims for claimants, and then we win appeals, and then we manage the claim after and keep them on claim, and we help people with the application processes. Look, I'm not really worried about video surveillance. No, it's out there. From the moment you call the disability company, they could start. But the question you really have to ask yourself is, how are they going to use that against me? What is the reference point for the video surveillance? And the reference point is everything that you as the claimant are telling your doctors and putting in your claimant statements and what you're telling the disability insurance company. So in your example of lifting a 50-pound bag of dog food, if you filled out a claim form and told the disability insurance company that you never can lift more than 20 pounds, and you are then on tape lifting a 50-pound bag, even though it's one time, well, you told them you could never, that word is never, lift more than 20. That's how the video surveillance is used against you. So, you don't have to be bedridden to be on disability. We tell people that all the time. But never put anything in a medical record. Never let your doctor write these extreme records that you can't do this, or you always do this, or you never do that. Don't fill out their claim forms saying, I never drive, because claimants feel like if I don't make it look bad enough, then I won't get approved, and that's not the case. But if you put something in any of those statements, any of your records, and they get you on video doing one thing inconsistent, automatically I can guarantee you they're going to cut you off.
Right.
And so that's the real key, is never overstate your limitations, because you have to assume it's not now, it may not be months, it may be years from now, they will eventually video surveil you. And so we know that. Now, how do we know that, Alex? Because when we get these denials, we get the claim file, and they're required to give you the video surveillance.
Correct.
And we see it in there. And more often than not, we have someone who's been on claim for 5 years, they got denied. They've already ran video surveillance 10 times on the person, but they never got anything. Now they finally get something. But on the flip side of this, how have you used video surveillance to the claimant's advantage when you're submitting an appeal?
Well, it's kind of funny because sometimes they take the surveillance, they like, we got you, we finally got you. You said you couldn't lift that 25-pound bag of dog food, and now we finally got you on video doing it, so we're denying your claim. But there's arguments to be made. Just because they have 2 minutes of you outside of your house, maybe loading the back of your SUV with the dog food that we keep on bringing up, doesn't mean that you can work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, 52 weeks a year, or whatever. I guess you have vacation. But just because they have you on video for 2 minutes does not show you how you are on a day in and day out basis. I mean, just because today you can go lift that dog food doesn't mean tomorrow you didn't screw up your back and you're down for the count all day tomorrow. So let's say you had to go to the supermarket and go shopping for an hour and a half, and you overextended yourself on Monday. Well, Tuesday and Wednesday you might be down for the count. So a lot of times they misconstrue on purpose what they find on the surveillance, and there's arguments to get around it. But the thing that we want to do is prevent people from being denied. So you have to realize that there could be surveillance out there. Don't go above and beyond what you're telling them you're able to do. But if you do get denied and the surveillance is in there, there are ways to get around this. Another thing I want to point out is it's pretty consistent when they actually do the surveillance. A lot of the times they might contact the claimant saying, we want to set up an in-person interview, or they might want to send you to an independent medical examination. And more often than not, they'll do it around the independent medical examination because they know where you're going to be. They know you're leaving your house on that day, and they're going to follow you to that doctor's office. They're going to see you walk in and walk out, who drove you there, whether you drove yourself. They're going to see what you do afterwards. After the IME visit, maybe you're going to go to lunch with your spouse or go to the gas station. They're going to follow you that entire day. So a lot of times they're kind of consistent when they do surveillance, or because they know you're going to be leaving the house, or they know you're going to be where you're going to be on that day. More often than not, I see that they do it on back-to-back days. They might do it on 2 days in a row, then take a week off, and do it another 2 days in a row just to see the consistency of your efforts. And it's kind of funny that in these denial letters, they'll say, we got you on this one day doing this, and they've done 4 days of surveillance, but they leave out the fact that the other 3 days, they don't have you on video doing anything, which is actually supportive of your claim, saying in most days you're housebound, not getting out of your house because of your disabling condition.
Right, that's a great point, because more often than not, I see 40 hours of video surveillance and 10 minutes of footage.
Right.
So what was happening the other 39 hours? And that goes a long way, and they spend thousands of dollars on this video surveillance, and they end up with nothing. So the point is that video surveillance is very commonly used. You can live your life without the fear of video surveillance as long as you're not doing anything that's inconsistent with what you're telling your doctors or the disability company or in your social media posts. So keep that in mind, because they're going to just take the capture of the disability and compare it to everything else that's out there and use it as a reference tool. If you're always honest and don't exaggerate, you're never going to have a problem having to worry about video surveillance.
100%. The last thing I want to mention is that, more often than not, it's kind of funny that it's supposed to be covert video surveillance, that most people don't end up seeing the investigator with a video camera on them. But more often than not, I see that people do realize they're being surveilled. And the one thing I want to mention, if you ever feel that they're violating the law, if they're looking inside your house, call the police. If you ever feel threatened, call the police, because maybe it's not the surveillance people for all we know, but if you ever feel threatened that someone's following you, always call the police. And the police, and most surveillance companies inform the police where they will be, so that when you call the police, like, hey, listen, I think a car is following me, police will tell you, actually they're doing surveillance of you, because if they said in your neighborhood, they would be there. So, but if you ever feel threatened, or if they violate any laws, call the police for sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because they are supposed to report with the local law enforcement agencies, and they're supposed to be licensed investigators to say that we're doing surveillance of this person on this day, so that they don't create this like manhunt of a person who's supposedly stalking some other person. So, no matter where you live in the country, if you have any questions whatsoever about your long-term disability insurance claim, no matter what stage you're at, feel free to call Alex, myself. We're always going to provide you with an initial free consultation and answer any of your questions. The other thing that's great that you can do is subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button below. Every week we put out several videos where we have tips and advice and discuss all kinds of things that are related to your disability insurance claim. And the reason we do this is to educate you about the disability insurance process so that you can do everything you need to keep your benefits continuing for as long as you need. And also as a reminder that we're here should you need us in the future, and that you have our contact information by subscribing to our channel. So should you need us in the future, we appreciate you considering us, and we look forward to helping you with your claim.